We're going to call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge to the flag. Okay, this evening we have a presentation from the Mifflin Community Library. If you want to start us off and come up to the podium, please.
Hi, good evening. My name's Allison Kalbach. I'm on the board of the Mifflin Library. I'm a trustee. We'd like to thank you for having us on your agenda tonight and to hear our annual appeal about the Mifflin Library. We are grateful for your support, money, as well as a representative of the board. We continue to expand and refine our services and offerings to meet changing needs and demographics of our community. We continue to provide services to all ages and variety of ways and media. We are good stewards of our community and resources. Did you guys receive a flyer that outlines everything we've been doing? Do you have that?
That was on our tablets first,
Okay.
Thank you.
So I don't need to go through all that.
You can if you want to.
It's a lot. Okay. We continue where am I? I'm sorry. The library board continues to raise funds through our annual appeal campaign. We are getting ready to mail the letters in late October. Last year we raised over $17,000 in the annual appeal. We have the board has a development committee, which is finally ramping up again after COVID. So we're starting to do fundraisers. And as a Ready, Set, Read tutor, it's so important to have the support of the community for our local libraries. We have over 60 volunteers to help defray costs of the library. We are excited to announce that the state has increased the public library subsidy by $11 million. We anticipate a 7.4% increase in funds from Berks County Public Libraries. We are also actively seeking additional funding sources, local and state grants, partnerships with businesses, and requests and memorials. In 2021, the library received several grants, including a grant from Berks County Community Foundation for our Nurture Your Roots Wellness Program. We also received a Berks Art Grant for 2022 summer concerts, as well as some additional art programming. This is Becky also.
Hi, I'm Becky Wingenroth, and I'm one of your new representatives this year. I think you've probably seen me a couple times at the meetings here trying to get accustomed to the Cymru Township. It's been very, very interesting in the last couple months, and I respect the fact that you're making such great, challenging decisions. So thank you very much. I wanted to mention also that in 2018, the library, Mifflin Library, was recognized for an achievement by being awarded with the Pennsylvania Forward Gold Star Award for diverse programs. And because we continue to do that, we actually have maintained that through this year, 2022. So that's a good thing. Everything that I've observed since I've been on the trustee of the library this year has been pretty good about all the diverse programs, the adults, children, everything. It's on the flyer that we gave you, but I've been really impressed with the work that the library has done, and we want to continue to do that. And we're asking, of course, the township for any proactive help that you can give us with all of our events and people signing up for emails. So if there's anything on your website that you might be able to put on, that would be really great. Right now, the library has 2,035 active card holders in Kumru, which is quite a few people that are using our library from this township. And of course, we are two of them, and hopefully all of you are, and everyone in the audience, because we're really looking to include everybody in all of the different things that we're doing. One of the things that Allison didn't mention, of course, was we were the big tent holders for the bingo this year at Community Days. And so we've sort of taken that over as a fundraiser, and it's sort of a fun thing to do. So we wanted to thank you once again for funding, and I just wanted to acknowledge what you've done last year, because last year you've increased the funding from $37,868 to $39,048. And so this year we're asking for the same amount. We're not asking for any increases, even though inflation is up. We're asking for you to just hold on our level, and we would appreciate it if you would acknowledge that and give the library that grant. And one other thing that we would like to ask for tonight is we are allowed to have more trustees on our board. And it's one observation that I've made is that I think we currently have about 6. We can have about 3 more. And I know Kumru used to have 3 representing Kumru Township. I am encouraging the board to increase it to 9 people, because when you have a smaller amount, you demand more of those trustees. And we are also concerned about some trustees that may be getting off of the board in the next year or 2. So we're specifically looking for people that might be qualified as far as legal background and also financial background, but we will take anybody that's sort of eligible for and good for our board. So if you know of anybody that would like to become a trustee member of the library, we're accepting applications, and then we review them, and keep us in mind for that. So thank you so much for letting us be on your agenda. We appreciate it so much, and we hope that you can give us this request again for our budget this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The individual who signed up, Michael Duff, canceled his appearance this evening. So we're going to move on to the people who signed up when they came in. Mike Nowatarski, I apologize if I didn't say that correctly.
Hi, I'm Mike Notarski. I'm on Freemansville Road. This has nothing to do, well, kind of. So the road, I live on Freemansville Road. So as I was, after last week's meeting at the intermediate school, I started doing some observations on the intersection. So our Governor Mifflin School District school buses must come to a complete stop on Route 10 if there's someone in Freemansville Road eastbound, pull out to on 10. So unless there is a complete wide open intersection, our school buses must stop on 10, and that car either has to pull out or has to back up into traffic because the school buses are too long to make the uneven drive. So if have any of you guys driven on the road yet, it actually turns back to the old road. So instead of being a straight T intersection, it now turns left. It's 80 feet down from where it used to be, and it actually connects back in front of my house. So it actually, instead of being a straight road like it used to be, where everybody could make the turn, now school buses, oil trucks, trash trucks, and any landscape or anybody with a trailer cannot make a right turn onto Freemansville Road without entering the other lane. So I called the school district up, and they have spoken to the school bus driver. She lives in Flying Hills, and she also expresses concerns that if there's traffic on Freemansville Road, They cannot make a legal right turn onto Freeman's Road, or they actually have to stop. I was going back into work last night. I work at Cartech. I had to go back into work last night, and I'm sitting at the light. Actually, I think one of the officers from Coomer Township was about 9 cars down. Someone was trying to turn in while I'm sitting there. I couldn't go anywhere because there was cars in that other lane. So we need to do something about this, whether this warehouse goes in or not. This intersection is dangerous. Whether there's a light there or not a light there. Is there any way we can, I tried to reach out to Reading, Route 10 Realty. I got no response. And I didn't expect I was going to. So I don't know how we can go about fixing this road. If we're not going to take it back to where it used to be, which I understand, it's already there, the poles are there, they did a lot of work. How are we going to make it straight so it's safe for people to enter and exit Freemanville Road? I don't know how to do this, but I appreciate your time.
Has the school district tried to contact Route 10 Realty?
I don't know. I talked to their manager this week, last week on the phone, and she just told me that the bus driver that actually uses our route, Freemanville Road, is a resident of Flying Hills. So she was going to reach out to that driver and see what her feelings were exactly. So,
Because the school district might have more clout than we do.
well, I hope not. I hope you guys have all the clout.
It's
Yeah.
it's a state road, and it's PennDOT, and we're
And talking to them,
up to the wall.
yeah, you get nowhere with. But I appreciate your time and try to figure this out.
Well, thank you for putting on record
Thank you.
your concerns. Yeah, is it Don and Marla Schweitzer? Okay, great. From 11 Pershing Boulevard.
My name's Donald Schweitzer. I have a property, 11 Pershing Boulevard. I purchased the property 10 years ago at an auction. It was actually my brother's place, and he used to rent it off of Howard Boyer. And then Howard Boyer had a living will that he could live in the house until he passed away. My problem is, which wasn't no problem until lately, for 10 years now, I've been paying a sewer bill for the front of the house and the garage, which the garage I only use for storage. Now, it was different when my brother had it because he ran a garage out of the garage. Howard lived in the front of the house. My brother rented the garage. At this point, for the last 10 years now, I've just been using the garage for storage. So I would like to try to get rid of the second sewer bill. The front sewer bill is the same amount as the backs. And being that I don't even have the water turned on back there because they just store cars in them, I would like to try to get rid of that second sewer bill. I don't know if we can come to agreement where I'll pay the second sewer bill if I do decide to rent it out, but at this point, means Mr. Boyer died, I think I'm just going to sell the property. The next person that comes along is not going to want to pay 2 sewer bills. That's my problem. Now, I did call about 2 years ago before the pandemic hit, and I just dropped it. And I offered to take the toilet out. There's a toilet in there, but and put a cap on it, but it's not written in stone. The worker there that I talked to said he didn't think that would be a good thing, that you wouldn't approve of it. But I want to try to get rid of this sewer bill. Now, I can take the toilet out and put a cap on it. I just don't want to have to dig up the property to disconnect the line because it comes off of Pershing Boulevard, the sewer, and then runs through the alley right past the back of the garage.
So there actually are 2 stubs, 2 sewer subs. I can't talk.
I'm not
2
sure.
Sewer stubs.
It used to be a septic tank back there, and I think it comes from the front house back to the septic tank and then out. It's like a Y.
If I could abbreviate the conversation, we'll have both the sewer department and the codes department investigate. However, if there are 2 sewer laterals, they will continue to pay the second sewer bill until it's disconnected. However, if there is only one sewer lateral, it more depends on the use of the property. The problem comes in, let's assume there's only one sewer lateral for a moment, and it comes down to the use of the property. The problem comes in, and Mr. Kolbach and Mr. Batdorf will please excuse me, but when the property gets sold, it ends up being advertised as 2 units. And that becomes a real problem. So we have to investigate both aspects. We'll have the sewer department look into it. You know, Public Works is listening intensely here, and we'll have codes investigate also.
Did the sewer foreman recently meet with you at your property the last month or so?
No, I called on the phone and he said I'd have to come to a meeting. I don't even know if I'm at the right meeting. I didn't see nothing, just for sewer.
This is a good meeting to be at, yes.
All right, we'll have to look into this, because there was a similar situation down there in that same neighborhood with this same issue. I don't have the property just as in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Bill went and met with somebody to discuss some of this, so we can dive deeper into it.
Okay, you want my phone number to get a hold of me?
If you give it to Patty, she'll pass it on to
Yeah,
me.
please give it to Patty.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone else signed up to speak. So we're going to move ahead with the agenda, starting with our report from the ambulance service.
Good evening, Board. Good to see you all again. For the month of August, our response time performance, so we responded to 228 incidents with a average response time of 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Things continue to go well. Our staffing has improved. We were a little over a year ago, Tower Direct was one of the poorest within the Tower Health system at retention. This year, we are the very best. So we've continued to increase employment, increase staffing, and that's going very well. We just hired a deputy chief to replace Kelly Motter. His name is Stuart Dixon. I'm hoping to be able to introduce him to you shortly. He is on vacation in Florida at the time, but overall, everything continues to go well from the ambulance perspective. Any questions you have for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Actually, I do. Remember, if you might recall at the last meeting, we talked about a link on our website.
Yes.
You need to send me the right one, because I keep getting, when I try to create that link, I keep getting shunted into Tower's main website, and
Okay.
I'm sure that's not the right one. So if you could send me what the right one is, I would appreciate it.
So I will. We are in the process of getting an updated Tower Direct website, and the individual with Tower Health who was just ready to publish that left before that was done, and so we are working to get some of those things updated. So I did just meet with them this afternoon. I'm hoping to have a fully updated site very shortly, but I should be able to get you a link that will redirect to something more than just the Tower Health website. You bet.
Do you think you'll have that for our meeting tomorrow night?
I'm sorry?
Do you think you'll have that for our meeting tomorrow night?
I don't know if it'll be ready for tomorrow night, but I will try. I will have a plan for it, at least for our advisory board meeting tomorrow night. All right.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes from August 16th, 2022, and August 30th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
I second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can read the treasurer's report. I'm sorry, Peg. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the tax collector. The treasurer's.
Any credit?
Apologize.
Even got her shirt on.
The treasurer's report.
She got.
Want to come up to the podium so they can hear you?
You're big, right? Good evening, everyone. Hi. Everyone received my report? Great. Okay, I think one of the more important things is the fact that we received our second allotment of the ARPA funds. However, of course, it's not on this report because this was August, but we did receive it in September, which is great. And tomorrow, we're supposed to be receiving our fire relief money, and that's like $81,000. So I think that's something that you'd like to know. So we're handling those items, too. Do you have any questions? And the other thing that we're going to be doing, and it's on the agenda, is also the MMO calculation. So I saw that that's on the agenda also. And then we'll break it out during the budget meetings. Okay?
I noticed there was a $55,000 expenditure in the ambulance fund. Was that for something specific?
I'd have to look it up on my ledger. Let me look it up on the ledger, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, you can let me know later, because I didn't
Absolutely.
think that was our normal payment amount. Our normal payment amount's larger than that.
But we, that's a, yeah, but we do pay it in pieces. Let me quick look it up for you, just to be sure.
I just couldn't remember if there was anything else paid out of that fund on behalf of the.
That's our contract.
Is it the 55?
Yes.
Do we pay it in
Absolutely.
quarters
We
or?
pay it like- yes.
Or thirds?
Yes, we pay it, it's 55, 55, and the 55.
So we pay it in thirds.
Thirds.
Okay, I guess I'm used to before it was like half.
Right, well, and
half.
do you remember then, last year we got a little bit, it was a little skewed because we had gotten the extra bill and we paid it anyway, so then last year it looked like we didn't pay as much as we normally would because we had paid it, the extra payment the year before. So I think that's
Okay.
why it's a little bit different, but that's
Okay.
how we pay it. Correct. Right. You got it, exactly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks.
Okay, now the tax collector's report, that you can read. So we move on to the consent agenda. Do you want to go over this, Jane, or not?
Sure, I can quickly go over this. We haven't seen a consent agenda in quite a while. In regard to the Cantner Lane Twins, the board may recall that is a development of 8 townhomes and 1 single-family home near but not part of the Deerfield development. Their maintenance escrow was posted as a cash escrow. This only appears on your trial balance. It does not appear on your regular monthly budget report because they are encumbered funds. The developer has completed his requirements for maintenance, and we're asking the board in this motion to approve a final inspection. If it passes the final inspection, then to release the cash escrow. Posh Acquisitions LLC is a 3-lot subdivision in the Farview area. This was at the last planning commission meeting. They have the very common waiver requests that were recommended by the planning commission, relief from various studies, and then relief from not requiring sidewalk. There is curb in that area of Farview. The second motion in relation to Posh Acquisitions is to approve the minor subdivision plan. This plan, it's very unusual, but they will be submitting a land development plan. On the minor subdivision plan, it only creates the lots. He did not put a theoretical envelope for the home, and they did not go through the sanitary sewer planning module process. Mr. Posh claims that he needs the minor subdivision approved for financing purposes. The Moorhead annexation subdivision plan is almost solely in the Borough of Moulton, and the property transfers that are involved are only in the Borough of Moulton. The residue of one of the lots is significant residue, but it's in Cumru Township. The Planning Commission recommends deferring review of the details of the annexation to Moulton Borough. The next item is I've learned a new word this week over the last week, agritainment. Essentially, we have that in Cumru Township. There is a hop farm at 141 Wilma Avenue called Fawn Hill. they would like to expand their use to include serving beverages, and the Planning Commission recommends a waiver of land development. Even though the condition is about stormwater review, that would only be if they change their mind. Right now, they do not need a stormwater plan. In relation to the imbibing of beverages there, that is under the purview of the PLCB, and who will regulate them on that aspect. The last one is Diamond Credit Union. You may recall that you approved this plan back in June. The plan is not yet recorded, not for any particular failing on anyone's part. The Recorder of Deeds requires it to be reaffirmed every 90 days. We've received all the documentation. We have not received the escrow for the public improvements yet. That's the only item outstanding, I believe, in the package of documents. Once we receive that, then we can release the signed plans, but we're asking you to reaffirm that approval. That ends the consent agenda this evening.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf?
Yes.
Mr. Kaulbach?
Yes.
Ms. Rao?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to departments, we start with the police department. Chief?
Yes, good evening. Everyone should have my report on their tablets. If there's any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to try and address. The under B, currently today the Civil Service Commission, it was advertised. We had a meeting. The meeting was held, and the commission was presented with the current civil service list and my recommendation to void the list due to applicants not eligible for hire. The commission voted that the recommendation be made to the Board of Commissioners to void that civil service list, which would then put us in the opportunity to place us with the opportunity to create a new civil service list, and that civil service test is scheduled in the very near future, October 8th of this year. So I would ask the board to consider the recommendation from the Civil Service Commission and provide a motion to void the current entry-level civil service police list.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to void the current civil service list.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf?
Yes.
Mr. Kaulbach?
Yes.
Ms. Rao?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary?
Yes.
Thank you. Under item C, there is a possibility for a grant opportunity that was presented for local law enforcement, and one of the areas that are eligible is under technology. One of the pieces of technology that the police department currently has, which we use frequently, which assists us in investigations within patrol as well as in the criminal investigations unit, is with our license plate readers, our current LPRs. It is a piece of technology which is fixed upon a vehicle, one of the vehicles in our fleet, which drives. We use it specifically for operations, and we can also use it for general patrol. The license plate readers are fixed in a manner that they can read the license plates of vehicles, whether they're parked or traveling, and if information is received that results in a suspension of a license plate, a wanted individual, a stolen vehicle, anything, that alert is then provided to the officer. What makes it invaluable with investigations is that data is kept for a certain period of time, and it can be reviewed if necessary to assist in various crimes throughout the country. We do receive requests often from outside jurisdictions asking us to review data for a particular vehicle that they have interest in. I don't have a number, but I would venture to guess that 90% of the police departments in in the state of Pennsylvania or in the country have license plate reader technology. I'm asking for the board to consider the police administration as well as Gene, Manager Johnston, to look into the possibility of obtaining this grant to potentially purchase another license plate reader package.
Would this be the same as the current one, or is there an upgrade, or is there a different display, or?
This would be the same as the current package that we have. There's two options. It can be mounted on a vehicle, or it can be fixed mounted. Throughout the county, particularly, there are locations where there are fixed mount LPRs. I don't really see the need to have some of that particular technology in this township, but I do see the benefit of having an additional LPR fixed on one of our fleet vehicles that can be utilized. There's the technology we currently have is the most up-to-date, best technology that's out there. This grant is offered through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, and in particular, Coomer Township, I believe, is authorized up to $1 million. Not that we would get that, or I would ask for that, but it's an impressive number.
Unless the grant program requires a resolution, I think at this point just nodding heads because you're not committing any funds.
I think we need a motion. I think that's why but a lot
Okay,
of grant
very good,
programs
very
do.
good.
And just to let the board know, some of when we're talking about the potential for fixed mounted license plate readers, some of the best locations for that Coomer Township does not control. So, for example, one that immediately pops to my mind is the Museum Road intersection. However, Coomer Township does not have any piece of the permit for that complex, for that traffic signal. That's permitted by Shillington. So the fixed mounts create some jurisdictional issues, if I can borrow a phrase from the chief.
Well, I have a question. Is it like if you're sitting there to randomly, check somebody out if they're going down the road, or somebody in specific if you have a particular reason, or?
It operates independently when you're driving around. It will alert the officers for any kind of particular violation if it reads a license plate. The officer does have the discretion whether or not they would act on that. So as you're driving down the road, and Officer Wirtz, you've operated this before, haven't you? It indicates frequently, but that doesn't mean that the officer is taking action. But it does operate independently when it's on, and it will alert if there's a particular violation.
Okay, like any violation, or, will you?
Any
You're not gonna
violation,
end up like pulling everybody over for
any
every-
violation that would be associated with the registration plate itself. It will not indicate on a red light violation or anything like that. If the license plate has a warrant attached to for an individual, or the actual vehicle is suspended, or it's no longer registered, that would be the alert that it is provided. Most importantly is the investigative aspect of it. For example, a good example would be if there's, say, a bank robbery in a particular location and the license plate is captured on surveillance. They will reach out to various departments that have LPRs to say, be on the lookout for this. But once it's entered into the national database, if that vehicle would pass our vehicle that has our license plate readers, it would indicate that vehicle is wanted in connection to a bank robbery. And then we would be able to take action if necessary or required.
I'll make a motion that Manager Johnston and Chief Winchester be authorized to pursue possible grant for new license plate reader.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I believe that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the fire department. Chief Bean.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sorry about that. I had to step out for a second to take a call in regards to the fire we just had this evening. But my monthly report is in your tablet. If you have any questions, I'll gladly take them.
Yes, where is the fire?
132 Colonial Drive. It was a kitchen fire. I can't stress enough to anyone in the audience that when you heat oil, it gets to a certain point, it will flash. In this case, we were lucky that the tenant wasn't injured more than what she was. And secondly, when you have a lid there, put the lid back on it. I know it's easy to say, but that's what caused tonight was hot cooking oil that got too hot in a cast iron pan, and when it was given some oxygen, it flashed. Now the apartment's inhabitable for a time being, but luckily one got transported. I believe all the animals survived because they were all looking at me in the cages when I checked them out. So since that seems to be my thing lately. But it looks like she's going to be all right too. So again, it was one of them things tonight. Again, it was thank God for her smoke alarm. She did hit it with an extinguisher, but hot oil and even extinguishers necessarily, it puts it out, but it puts it everywhere then. So they have a bigger mess to clean up. But that was the excitement for tonight, hopefully. Knock on wood. But yeah, I had monthly report. Any questions on the monthly report, I'd be glad to answer them or try to answer them. The month of August, including the month of September, has been flying by like there's no tomorrow. Within that monthly report, though, I will say the 5 candidates that are at the Hack Fire Academy right now are in week 6 already. One of the 5, well, 2 of the 5 have cleared the EMT portion and are totally done with that. One obviously was going into it. The second passed his written Saturday and his psychomotor Monday. They all passed their psychomotor Monday, so they have upcoming tests. One already did his written, and the other one's Thursday, and the other one's Saturday for the National Registry. So we're already into the fire portion, so 5 weeks went by like a click of a finger, but they're all doing well. Obviously, there's been some really interesting stories to hear, but that's part of being at an academy, part of being at a college setting, and actually living at a college setting. So in comparison to other departments. So there'll be more to put together once they come back, but they're all doing well, on track to hopefully I'll graduate here the Friday before Thanksgiving. So looking forward to that. If there's no further questions on the report, I'll move on to item B. I'm looking for a motion for an application for payment number 10 to Ankowitz Enterprises for the amount of $332,274.10.
Do I hear a motion?
So move.
I second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
And much of that on the Kumru portion, you can see it's broken out there. Much of the Kumru portion is sewer work.
All righty, thank you. Moving on to item C. I'm asking for, this is tying with the project that we're already doing, a storms for emergency declaration to address 2 storm pipes at 382 and 416 Reed Street. After some extensive research by Manager Johnston, Public Works Superintendent McNichols, it's been found out that these 2 pipes are the township's. I believe they've been in contact with Mr. Setley as to how to address them. Prior to that road being paved or restored would be the time to fix this. The only way you're going to get to do that, being that we're in there, is to declare it an emergency so we can get this project put together in a packet to put it out for quotes and get it done prior to Reed Street being restored to a new street. If anybody has any questions, hopefully I can answer them. If not, I'm sure Bob can, but they're both in bad shape. Circa everything else down in that section. Rotted out bottom.
The one pipe is
Galvanized
collapsing.
pipe, yeah. So it's in not good shape at all. But now would be the time to fix it. But they are hours per the plan. So just need a motion for make it an emergency, and then we can move on from here with that and get that project moving.
So do I hear a motion to declare a storm sewer emergency for 382 and 416 Reed Street?
So moved.
I second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Keep this moving. Letter D is the 1982 Jeep, which was just replaced with a 2022 new Jeep brush unit from the fire department. Evidently at a function with the township commissioners, Commissioner Kalbach, and I'm not sure who else was all there, was approached from a neighboring municipality, Brecknock Township, asking about if we would be able to give that to them or transfer it over to them. It's on my agenda because it was part of the fire department. I had talked to Manager Johnston, Public Works Superintendent McNichols, my liaisons about, I can't see giving this piece of equipment away. Yes, it's out of service for us as a frontline piece as a brush unit, but just the parts alone on this Jeep, from a collector's standpoint, it could be turned around and turned into something. People would part it out. I just think it's something in today's age too that we wouldn't necessarily want to just give away, since we're trying to scratch everything together here ourselves.
I can elaborate a little further on this. Not having known what the value of the vehicle was, the gentleman from Brecknock would offer to purchase at a very reduced price. I did email him and have not gotten a response, so that tells me that he's not willing to pay what we should have. Initially, if it were a small dollar amount, I thought as a good gesture to a neighboring township, fine. But considering the value that it's at, I would suggest that we just leave it as is on the auction list and let it go to the highest bidder.
I can't agree more at this point. And who's to say what's going to happen in an auction? It's either you get people there or you don't get people there. But they're more than welcome to bid on it at the auction also then. So
I did let him know it would be going to the auction and that he would be more than welcome to bid on it there.
alrighty, well, thank you. Outside of that, unless someone has questions, I'm not going to say anything else. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. For the public who hasn't been here before, we do have like the chief was talking about, we do have 5 new fireman candidates in the academy right now. We currently have 3 full-time firefighters. Soon we will have 8. So the First Class Township Code requires that we provide fire protection for our residents, and with the loss of volunteers and their inability to respond, we want to make sure that the residents are protected. Okay, we're moving on to administration. Jean.
The codes report is on your agenda. Please let me know if you have any questions. I will point out that under properties condemned, when it says condemned, and in that case there was another fire there, that means that what happens after a fire, if at the discretion of the fire department, the codes department is called in to look at whether anyone can remain in the dwelling unit. So it's condemned in terms of not habitable until it's repaired. Of course, there are some cases where they're not reparable, but that's what that refers to. This area, this central area of the township, one of the reasons we're building the fire station where we are is this actually happens to be the ground zero for a lot of home fires. I think it was the last count, 60% of the structure fires occur in this central area of the township. In regard to the American Rescue Plan funds, Mrs. Carpenter alluded to the fact that we've received the second tranche. Tranche just means a bolus or a portion of the money. And when this legislation came through last year, we were informed that we would receive it in 2 chunks or tranches. We had received $810,000 in, I believe it was February. As it turns out, we've received not just another $810,000, we received $813,000 and change, and a little bit of an addition, $2,500 on top of the first tranche, and you can see the total there. For the public's information, the legislation allowed that money to be deposited into the general fund, and the purpose of the American Rescue Plan funds were to make up for lost revenue caused by the COVID pandemic, especially during the time when everything was shut down. So we have used the vast majority of this money after depositing into the general fund. We have done extraordinary or an out of the ordinary road and storm sewer work. For example, we'll be talking in a few minutes about Oregon Road Phase 2, which was 2/3 of Oregon Road, and that project was well over $1 million, and some of this money, this general fund balance, was used for that. We also paved Cockle Boulevard to the tune of a little over $410,000. Cockle Boulevard is the main road through the Green Hills Corporate Center where Penske is located. We are also doing some other road and storm sewer work, including out on Pheasant Road. There was a major storm pipe that was repaired. So the money is being used for the purpose in which it was intended. So item B is just merely for the board's information. As far as I know, we do not enter into special audit territory. In regard to item C, this is the traditional beginning of the budget season for the succeeding year. You are required by the end of this month to adopt resolutions for the minimum municipal obligation, also known as the MMO, for the 2 pension plans. The police pension plan MMO for 2023. So this is payable by the end of 2023. In the amount of $932,837, with parameters provided by the actuary and payroll figures provided by Mrs. Carpenter. In regard to the non-uniform plan, as you may recall, there are 2 portions to the non-uniform plan, a defined benefit portion and a defined contribution portion, and you can see the amount there. The defined contribution portion is established by the Teamsters contract. So I am requesting a motion from the Board of Commissioners, whether it's 1 motion or 2, to adopt these resolutions for the pension minimum municipal obligations for 2023.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the minimum municipal obligation pension resolution for both police and non-uniformed contracts?
You had. I motion.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kolbach,
Yes.
Mrs. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
Thank you. We do not know, because I know this is on Ruth's mind, for the public's information, the township and other municipalities every year receive aid or grant from the state to assist with this cost every year. So at this time last year, a minimum municipal pension obligation was established for 2022. Sometime shortly, we should find out how much aid from the state has been granted to the township. We know it's coming soon because the fire relief money that Mrs. Carpenter mentioned comes out of the same pool of money. So we know that the state has made these calculations. However, we have not been informed yet about how much we are getting for 2022. Obviously, as soon as we get that, we will let you know. So I'm sorry I can't provide that information for you right now, Ruth. They just haven't given it to us yet.
Is that it, Dean? Okay. All right, we'll move on to Public Works. Bob?
Good evening. It's that time of the year where we're starting to notice the trees are starting to hang down in a lot of places, even though it's been a slow growing season. We're looking forward already to snow plowing, and this line should read more like trees versus snow plowing. So I've been talking with the manager and codes about sending out some letters for people to trim back some trees. Just want to let people know what's coming. As the trees start to lean over when they're covered with snow, they bang against the windshields and they tear off the lights sometimes. So it's that time of year coming up. The auction that Jim referred to earlier is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, October 5th at 3 p.m. at the Gogglesville Fire Company. That has not been advertised yet, but we're definitely in the pipeline. We have 5 vehicles going. They'll be up there that day. And unless you have any questions, that's all I have for tonight.
I do have a question because a couple people have asked me about this. There's a little bridge on Wyomissing Road down by the soccer fields. Is that our bridge? Because it's like collapsing.
Nope.
Yeah, that's not ours, and it may be as far out as Brecknock.
Because we were at a meeting with them last Thursday, and I asked one of the supervisors from Brecknock, and he said, no, it's ours.
No. We do not have that bridge. I guarantee that.
Yeah, Wyomissing Road is definitely a state road.
It's
so
a
it is
state
not our
road
bridge.
also, yeah.
State road. Wyomissing Road is a state road.
It's another PennDOT responsibility.
Maybe, or
Is it because they have cones up and nobody's fixing it? Yeah.
That's standard PennDOT procedure.
I'm sure anyone in the audience who lives near Fairmont knows about those steel plates that have been sitting there for I don't know how long, years. Yes, so it's kind of the same category.
That's it, Bob?
Yes, ma'am, that's all I have.
Okay, so we'll move on to our engineer, Joe.
We did receive a final application for payment number 3 from Construction Master Services for the Oregon Road. This is the remaining section that Gene just referenced, the two-thirds of the remaining section of Oregon Road. This was for the additional aggregate that was utilized for the softening yielding area. We were waiting for documentation from the quarry, the certifications, making sure that the quantities matched what the slips. Upon review, the stone material as well as any remaining erosion and sedimentation pollution control and previously withheld retainage is included in this final application for payment. Based on our review, we recommend the board consider payment to Construction Master Services for a total amount of $154,295.63, and this would constitute the final payment for Oregon Road.
So move.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes.
This is, I took special note when I actually heard Joe Rogoski say to me that this is the worst road he had ever seen. I mean, that's saying something.
It definitely was out of my 35 plus years of doing road work. It's probably the worst road because the road was actually built on topsoil. So when there's areas when we excavated, it's topsoil, as you know, is not suitable. It's had any structural characteristics or limited structural characteristics. So it was very bad condition. We are of the opinion that it was a road that was probably just worn in and over a period of time was constructed. But talking to Bob in the Public Works, probably the snow plows are the heaviest thing that utilize that road, and I know you had problems with the blades hitting into the road. So we're probably fortunate that we don't have a lot of heavy truck traffic, and we probably have an ADT or an average daily traffic less than 300. But if that road probably would have been subject to some heavy vehicles, it probably would have never lasted as long as it did. So, all in all, it went well as far as construction and so forth. I mean, could have been better if we didn't have that much soft areas, but overall, the contractor did perform well, and I would say in a timely way. I think we were lucky to get them in early during the dry conditions because now it's starting to get more rain and precipitation. So it was definitely a challenge, and hopefully our future streets are going to be much better, but with a canopy of trees and so forth, I'm not too optimistic. I think we're going to probably encounter more in that area when we redo some other streets, Welsh and Hunters, in the future.
They did do a great job on Oregon.
I was very pleased with the work. They worked well, and for the most part, we really didn't have much problems, and they communicated well with us, kept us in the loop. So yeah, we are very, very pleased, and I did relay that to them. We had a Zoom conference one day to go over some quantities and some certifications and so forth, but I did want to convey that the township was pleased with the final product.
We have, believe it or not, one more road project that Shillington is the lead agency on, March Street.
I can touch a little bit upon that. Shillington, as you may be aware, a portion of March Street is located within Cumru Township. Don't quote me, it could be about 180 feet from Summit Avenue. The municipal boundary is on a skew. The road has been reconstructed, actually, it was just completed as of Friday, and a walkthrough was performed this morning. 288 curb ramps were installed in our township. This will be then billed to Cumru once the invoice is submitted to Shillington Borough. To date, New Enterprise is New Enterprise is the contractor. They have not submitted any application for payment. And Gene, I did talk to Scott Brossman, the borough manager, this morning, and I did mention, and he was wondering, would the township prefer to be billed at the end or whenever we do get the invoice? He said it made no difference to him, but he wasn't sure how, if you prefer the end or as soon as we get the invoice.
I want to do what Shillington's doing in relation to the Reed Street water at the end. We'll
Okay.
exchange invoices
Okay.
over a cup of coffee.
Has it? Okay. That's fine. I lean towards once we got it, I would be able to. I told Scott I'd be able to submit a copy to Gene and process that. I'm assuming we'll probably get one in October. I can't see New Enterprise being on the hook for that much money. That's a pretty significant amount.
No,
of
in
dollars.
reality, I understand. They'll probably want to process invoices. It's not a problem. I mean, Peggy is always on us about, as we get towards the end of the year, to get things paid, get them rolling. So yeah, if really whatever's convenient for Shillington, we can handle it.
Okay. That's fine. I'll relay that to their manager. Next line item on this evening is the PennDOT traffic signal maintenance agreement. Recently, PennDOT has, I'll say, changed their position on municipalities entering into it's more of a blanket agreement. They call it the Commonwealth and Municipal Traffic Signal Maintenance Agreement. As you're aware, we already do own and maintain our traffic signals throughout our municipality. When these signals were permitted, there were forms, they called it a TE 160 form that had to be executed, and a resolution was adopted at that time. PennDOT's trying to incorporate all signal information it's a program called TSAMS, and the acronym stands for Traffic Signal Asset Management. It's a computer program, or it's a website more or less, where each municipality inputs their traffic signal data, which their equipment, lenses, and so forth. This keeps an inventory of the materials and so forth, and this is actually utilized in grant funding. As you may be aware, every year there's an ARLI fund, which is an automated red light enforcement grant that's available, as well as a Green Light Go grant. These grants are sometimes difficult because they may only be $8 million for over the whole state of Pennsylvania, but they're available, and this website is used to help contractors as well as municipalities keep an inventory of their products. What PennDOT's requiring is we complete this agreement. Prior to doing so, this evening I'm recommending that the board adopt a resolution that would assign or give authorization for Gene, the township manager, to fill out, first of all, the agreement form, as well as any other TE 160 forms. What happened is PennDOT has now revised the form. They simplified it into one sheet. So moving forward, if we ever have to make a revision to our signal, upgrade signal timing, any signal optimization, we don't have to adopt a resolution. We don't have to go in front of the Board of Commissioners. Gene can act on behalf of the township to execute this form and then submit it to PennDOT. They're trying to streamline as much as they can. However, this agreement is about 26 pages, and essentially it's the exhibits that need to be completed. I would recommend if Mike could take a look at it. I'd be more than happy to help Gene. It can be done electronically, or it can be done the good old-fashioned paper copy way. But prior to us submitting it electronically, either or method, I would recommend if Mike could just look over the legality of the document. It did originate from Chief Counsel of PennDOT. I think it's probably to protect them, and I want to make sure the township is protected as well. Sure, I'll send a copy over tomorrow. So this evening, I'm looking for the board to adopt the resolution authorizing the township manager, Gene Johnston, to be able to sign the appropriate document for the maintenance agreement, as well as any future TE 160 forms.
With the agreement subject to the review of the solicitor?
Yes.
Do I
I'll
hear a
make the
motion?
motion pending review from Solicitor Setley.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Batdorf?
Yes.
Mr. Kolbach?
Yes.
Ms. Rao?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary?
Yes.
The one thing I do want to add, we do have a maintenance signal contractor, and it's CM High. One of the things we may want to look into is having them input some of the signal information, because I believe, talking to Gene, our signals, some of them are old, and the equipment isn't listed. We want to make sure that gets updated. A lot of these signal contractors have access to this TSAMS, and they can go in there and coordinate and input controllers and so forth. It probably would be a good idea, once we have this agreement submitted, will be reviewed by PennDOT, but that's something that we can discuss and look into in the next couple months. But it would be a good idea to possibly get a price from them to input some of this information. Most of them will do it already. However, I'm not sure if CM High has. We might have to do some setups with the TSAM program. This is not any different than the ECMS and the DOT grant and all the other programs that we're becoming more familiar with. But I just wanted the board to be aware of that's probably going to be an additional task that should be done. And then once new signals are put together, or we update our signals, that information can then be updated. It's more or less an inventory of our traffic signal equipment, but it's uploaded on a website.
Joe, I'm just curious if there would be any unintended consequences, considering that we have some pretty antiquated equipment, that if PennDOT might say, hey, you need to update this, which Bob and I have discussed already, that could.
I'm not aware of
huge.
PennDOT making any requirements based. I do understand your concern. I will mention there are controller assemblies that are no longer, you cannot get parts. Shillington, Lancaster Avenue is having all their controller assemblies replaced. because they cannot work and talk to each other with a closed loop system because they don't make parts for them. So what happens is once these parts, once they break down, they pretty much retrofit, put a Band-Aid on it, and try to keep them working. They were successful in getting a Green Light Go grant. They did traffic counts, so they're going to try to optimize those signals. But a lot of that, not software, hardware and equipment needs to be updated. But yes, your concern, they do look into that. They're going to see that we probably do have some equipment and some controllers that might need to be replaced. But it's also going to help us if we apply for grant money, because they'll see that that equipment, we might get prioritization.
That would be great.
Shillington was successful. I think they're fortunate. I didn't think this would happen because in the past, Green Light Go, I think it was only given to 2 municipalities in Berks County. But I think the fact that those controllers are failing and it's a safety issue, I think that put them on in the list or up high list to get that money. So I would highly recommend the next time there's a round, it's every year, and it's a lengthy process, but we might want to take advantage of our equipment inventory and update anything that needs to be completed. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the solicitor.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to report on this. I sent around, I think, to the commissioners the amendments to the Fireworks Act that now allow municipalities to reasonably regulate the use of consumer fireworks, and also to require people buying and owning consumer fireworks to obtain a permit. I'm not necessarily recommending that the township do anything in particular. I think what I sent along to you, there were 3 sample resolutions or sample ordinances from PSATs, I think, pursuant to the act. I can tell you some of the other municipalities I represent are choosing to do nothing. They think that the permitting process is going to be a chore to no end because you're going to have the same enforcement issues you had before. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that a cop's going to have to see the guy lighten up the fuse, basically, in order to do anything about it. So, although I guess it's a positive that the state's recognizing that the local municipalities have an interest in it, it really didn't help much with enforcement. But I just want to encourage you to look at the 3 sample ordinances that I sent around, see if any of them appeal to you. But again, most of the municipalities, not with my urging, but on their own accord, have said, we don't want to go through the pain in the neck of permitting when it's very difficult enforcement anyway. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on it now, or if you just want to take a look and we can discuss it next meeting.
Chief, do you have any input?
I did speak with Commissioner O'Leary on this, and we're in agreement with Mr. Setley in that it makes it very difficult. The law itself now, when it changed, it's very difficult to enforce. I don't really have an opinion on whether the board should have a permitting process in place. I know if that would fall on us, it would be a strain. The only benefit I could see would be if someone were to want to set off consumer or display fireworks, they would get a permit. We would know immediately if they were authorized or not authorized. But that said, I probably would say statistics show that if they're going to set off these fireworks, they're not going to get a permit anyway. So the only question I did have was the 3 sample ordinances, 2 of them indicated in the wording, and I might be misreading it, but it said that the township basically agrees that there are no locations within its jurisdiction that would authorize somebody to set off display or consumer fireworks, I assume because of the 150 feet requirement away from a structure?
Yeah, and I don't think that would be applicable here, because certainly there are places in Gogglersville, for instance, just to state the obvious, where you certainly could. But I know that some time ago, Borough of Wyomissing pretty much outlawed it everywhere. But there is very little open space that isn't public land. We have some fairly large tracts of land where you probably can legally and safely do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So, to answer the board, I'm indifferent at this point. I hope they would change at some point that would provide us with more authority to seize and take action. But at this point, we don't have that.
It's crazy. You essentially can't stop anybody from doing anything 4th of July, Memorial Day, or Labor Day weekend under this ordinance, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And they can shoot them off until 1 a.m.
Yeah, Mike, does the new law or the adjustments to the law have any bearing on, I'd be more interested on Stan selling fireworks and whether or not we can regulate that in the township?
We still don't. That's still State Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, for the actual permit to do that.
Yes.
I just wasn't sure if there was anything from our level that we don't have them every other block, or like that one year we had 2 down in the.
I'll take a
600 East
closer
Line
look,
Stratton.
Jim, but my first reading of it was this was just display and consumer fireworks use, not sale. I still don't think we can regulate the sale.
All right, well, and quite frankly, I'm in agreement with the chief of police that to permit this stuff would be
just a nuisance.
It's going to be more of a problem, and there's not enough of us to go around, especially when everything starts to fly.
You just got 5 more guys, Jim.
That's not going to help.
Put out the fires.
Yeah. Even if we got 50 more people, it wasn't going to make a difference. Really, it's not going to. No. But again, they put out this stuff, and you look at this, and it looks very appetizing. But yet, how do you enforce it?
Yeah, this was kind of a feel-good amendment, I think, because municipalities were complaining, but it really. So we had a list of people who are going to violate the law, maybe.
It is difficult to enforce because they have to actually see them do it. By the time the police get there, they're not doing it anymore. I hate to pass another ordinance that we can't enforce.
Well, if anybody has any thoughts on it after you take another look, we can talk about it next month. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the payment of bills. We have bills dated August 19th, August 26th, August 30th, September 1st, Pliget, September 2nd, ACH, September 2nd, September 9th, and September 16th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
I'll motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller,
Yes, except for 916, I abstain.
Mr. Batdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Kalbach,
Yes.
Ms. Rao,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Leary.
Yes. Under Commissioners, we did have an executive session at 6 o'clock tonight. Mr. Setley, will you summarize that for us?
We discussed 2 items. One was an item of, both were items of pending litigation, and no action needs to be taken with them at this time.
Okay, reminders. We have a meeting, we're going to start our budget meetings, which, ladies and gentlemen, they are open to the public also. October 13th is our first budget meeting at 3:30. Then our regular meeting is October 18th at 7 o'clock. October 20th, another budget meeting at 3:30. October 27th, a budget meeting at 3:30. And the Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for October 3rd at 6 p.m. There's a Municipal Authority meeting Tuesday, October 25th at 8:30 a.m. I believe that's in this building, correct?
Yes, but Planning Commission will be here and Municipal Authority will be here.
And then a Zoning Board, Hearing Board meeting September 27th at 6 p.m. And a Zoning Hearing Board notice for 9/27, the J&A Court Apartments hearing continued.
And my understanding is that's the only hearing that night. and that will be here. Just to let the board know, on the budget meetings, we have some wiggle room in the way the days fall this year. The board may recall that if your goal is to adopt the budget at your December regular meeting, which this year is December 20th, you have to advertise the budget for 20 days. So we could go all the way if we need to. I'm not desiring this, I'm just telling you, we could go all the way to the 5th Tuesday meeting in November, which is November 29th. If we have difficulties in setting the budget parameters, we can go all the way to that day, and then I would advertise December 1st, and then you can adopt December 20th. It's obviously not ideal. Your regular meeting in November is November 15th. That's as early as it gets. And so our goal would be to adopt at that meeting rather than going to the 29th. But I'm letting you know that you do have some flexibility in terms of the advertising parameters this year.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
And the nuclear clock says 8:14.